This is a video overview of the UltraPower UP120AC Duo charger. This is a dual port charger, two independent ports. Port 1 has 120 watts available to it and 10 amps. Port 2 has 220 watts. 100 watts for a total of 220, and also has 10 amps. So 10 amps each port, 120 watts here, 100 watts here. What's nice is that it has a built-in power supply. I think the power supply even puts out about 300 or 350 watts. You can use it as a power supply for other items too, through the DC port, which is on the side. It's got the DC port. That pumps out probably about 17, between 14 and 17 volts, I believe. And you can hook up, say, like a pit light to it, a tire truer, another charger, or something like that. The great thing about it is that it can also be connected via DC to, say, a 12-volt car battery out in the field. So you get the AC compatibility and the DC compatibility. You can plug it in anywhere, which is nice. Very versatile. And each port is very powerful and is independent of the other. There's no sharing. Each port gets its own, 120 watts here, 100 watts there. If you're pulling 120 watts here, you can easily pull 100 here, no problem. The charger can handle it. So what we'll do is we'll walk you through the menu right now, just so you have an idea of what functions it has, and we'll also charge a battery too after that. So we're getting into the menu here. So obviously LiPo battery, you can charge LiPo battery, lithium ion, lithium iron, lithium high voltage, which is a new type of battery as of right now. Lithium battery meter. Lithium battery meter is cool. Basically, if you have a battery hooked up to the JST-XH port, it will read each cell's individual voltage, which is very nice. System settings. Battery memory, where you can store and recall certain battery types. I mean, for battery memory, I guess we don't really tend to use it much, at least here at Dirt Cheap RC, because when the charger turns back on, it still has the last setting you used stored right in it. So it's easy to just start charging right again without going into the battery memory and loading it up. But some people have a lot of different types of batteries, and so therefore battery memory will work well for them. So to each their own, whatever suits you best. This is a lead acid battery. You can also charge batteries in, say, your actual automobile. NiCad, nickel metal hydride, and back to LiPo. So let's start up a LiPo battery charge. Connect the balance board. We have a 7.4 volt, 5200 milliamp 50C battery here from Vant. Alright. The charger does come with two JST-XH balance board adapters, 2S through 6S, as you can see here, the bottom left of your video. That'll give you an adapter of 2S port right there, 3S port, 4, 5, and 6. So it'll be easy for you to plug it in. You can even if you don't have a JST-XH, you could still plug a battery right into the port here. The negative goes here, and then the rest of the pins would go there. So if you have a 2-cell, even though this is a 6S port right here, you could still plug it in on the right-hand side of the port, starting on the right, and it's the same thing as using the balance board. But it does come with two of these balance board adapters. It comes with two temp ports, as you can see here. It doesn't come with temp sensors, though. Those will have to be purchased separately. It does come with two Dean's charge cables. Right here, this is a Traxxas battery, so we have a Traxxas cable, but it does have two Dean's charge cables. It also does have the DC cable in the box, which is nice. It's an XT60 male to 4mm bullet. I don't believe it comes with big 4mm clips, so you might want to get some clips that we also offer for sale. It'll help you easily attach it to like a car battery, or the 4mm bullet for the DC cable will plug right into, say, like a power supply. So let's go forward with this. So we'll enter the LiPo menu by pressing the start or enter button here, And what's nice about this charger is that it defaults to LiPo balance mode. Most chargers, once you enter the LiPo screen, it'll be on LiPo charge. And then you have to go and scroll to LiPo, balance in order to find it. This is nice. The software programmers at UltraPower were smart in knowing that most people LiPo balance anyways, plus it's the safest way. So they have the LiPo menu come right up to LiPo balance. So in order to edit the values here, we're going to want to set the amperage to 5.2 amps. Since this is a 5200 milliamps, we'll set it to a 1C charge rate, which would be 5.2 amps. So you just tap the enter button and the amperage will blink. And we'll bring it up to 5.2. Tap enter again, and now the voltage will blink, and we don't have to adjust it, of course, but just so you get the idea, 2S, 3S, 4S, 5S, 6S, and it cycles around, which is nice, instead of having to go all the way back. For example, if the last battery we charged was 10 amps, was a 10,000 milliamp battery, and we were charging at 10 amps. Now, if we wanted to get all the way down to 1 amp to charge a different battery that we only want to charge at 1 amp, on most chargers you'd have to hold the decrease button for quite a long time in order to get it down to 1 amp. But here it just cycles right around. Ooh, this actually goes up higher. Nice. I guess this does 12 amps now. This is the newest version of the charger. And it cycles right around and goes right to 1 amp. So it's nice that it cycles around. So in order to start the charge process, we'll just hold the start button and it'll do its check. And if the check matches up, we'll hit confirm. And it does. Two cell. And it'll start charging. You'll see that it says we're charging a LiPo 2S. This is the amperage it's putting in. It starts off slow because it's detecting the battery, but it'll get up to its 5.2 amp charge rate. This is the current voltage of the pack. This tells us what type of LiPo charge we're in, or the balance charge. Here's your timer. This is how long the battery's been charging. And this is your milliamp counter. This is how many milliamps have been put into the battery. Oh, we did leave it at 1 amp, didn't we? Alright, let's go back out. Bring it up to balance. Bring that up to 5.2. Forgot we changed that. Alright, so you'll see that increase. While we're waiting for that to bump up and detect, you can press the decrease button. That'll give you some information. The end voltage is going to be 8.40 volts. Input power. The power supply is supplying to the charger a voltage of 14.01. External temperature. We don't have a temp sensor set up, but right now, so of course it's reading 0 degrees Celsius. Internal temperature of the charger on this port is 19 degrees. Temp cutoff for the external would be 80 degrees. That's what we have set in the settings. Safety timers on. This tells you all the settings that you have set up. Nothing here is adjustable. This tells you what the settings are, the safety settings you have set up in the settings. And back to that. If you press the start button, it brings you back to the charging screen. So you can see here it did go up to 5.2 amps charge rate. Now pressing the increase button, you can also see the individual cell voltages, which is nice. And these will climb to 4.2 until they're done charging. Of course, the charger will automatically detect that it's done charging. Alright, so let's get out of this menu. There is also LiPo charge if you choose not to balance, LiPo fast charge, LiPo storage. LiPo storage is great if you're not going to use your LiPos for a while. This will bring them to about 3.85 volts, 3.8, 3.85. I mean, we can even check to see using that nifty decrease trick. So we're in a storage mode. See right here it says STO for storage, and we'll tap the decrease button, and it'll say 7.6. So that means that it'll bring, because this is a 2-cell, it'll bring each cell to 3.8. can again press the increase button to see the voltages in each cell. So right now it would be discharging. That's what's great about the storage mode, is that it will figure out the voltage of the battery, and in order to get it to 3.8 volts, it will know whether it has to charge it or discharge it, and it'll do that. So you just put it on and let it go. You can hear the fan kicking on. That usually happens during discharging, of course, because it builds up heat in the charger. Alright. So let's check out some other menu items. Let's disconnect the battery. And let's get the fan to shut off in case it's causing... yeah, didn't have to. Do a restart and shut off by itself. Alright. And let's go through some menu items here. Of course, lithium ion and lithium iron, they're going to have the same menu items as the LiPo does. Lithium high voltage as well. Battery meter. If you enter that, that will of course bring you your voltage readings. Let's hook up. You could do this real quickly. Like I said before, you can just shove that into the right side. Fits pretty good. And we're at 3.88, 3.88 on cell 1 and 2. So we'll pull that out. Alright, so lithium battery meter is pretty sweet. Here's your system settings. Rest time between charge and discharge cycles. That's for like nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride. You can run cycles. You can change that value up or down. Safety timer. You can turn the safety timer on or off. Safety timer is good. I mean, if you're charging in a safe area, you know, generally this is just a secondary safety feature. The charger knows when the battery's done charging, either based on its voltage if it's a lithium battery or a lead acid battery, or based on when it peaks, when it starts losing voltage actually, with a nickel cadmium or nickel metal hydride. So safety timer is good, but generally it's a secondary safety feature. It's not going to it's not really necessary in order to charge your batteries by it. The charger detects when the battery is done. Safety timer is just a secondary feature. Same with the capacity cutoff. So if you're charging batteries that are like 8,000 milliamps and your capacity cutoff is on 5,000 milliamps, well, you might not get a full charge at it. So you're going to either want to turn this off or increase the capacity cutoff up to 8,000 or 10,000. I believe this goes up to 50,000, which is quite high. But it gives you the flexibility that you need in case you are running some crazy huge batteries. Key beep, that's these keys that I'm touching now. You could turn that on and off, make it silent, and the buzzer would be, say, like when the end of charge cycle is done. You can turn the buzzer on and off. Maybe if you got a baby sleeping, you want to turn it off. I don't know. Input power low, that will cut off the, if for some reason this is failing, or your external power supply, say your 12-volt battery, automotive battery that you're using to power this thing out in the field, if that gets below, say, 11 volts, this thing will stop charging. So that's a nice feature. This shows you the temperatures, and here you can, by holding enter, you can restore the factory defaults, and also your software version. So we'll go ahead and show you what it's like to load the factory defaults, which is nice. I mean, that will erase all your saved everything. This brings it back to stock new out of the box. Alright. Battery memory. Here's where you would enter settings for battery number 1. And this is where, I believe this is the menu where you can change the terminal voltage, or you can change what voltage you charge the LiPo cell to. So let's say we're charging a LiPo. We'll walk through this. 7.4 volt. Yeah, we were charging 7.4 volt. Keep going through. Charge current. Well, we want to change that to 5.2, right? That's what our battery was. Discharge current. That sounds good. discharge voltage we can change. So if it's discharging and we only want it to come down to like 3.2 volts per cell, we can change that. So you have a 3.0 to 3.3 option here. So I like 3.2. I don't like bringing them down to 3.0. Terminal voltage control equals your risk. There's only so many characters, of course, but you get the point where LiPo batteries are safest at 4.2 volts per cell. Some people are reporting that charging them to less of a voltage, 4.18, 4.15, you are stretching the battery less, and you still get pretty much the same runtime out of it. And some people, on the other hand, want all that power and that runtime, so they bring it up higher than normal. This will bring it from either 4.18 up to 4.3, but 4.2 is the default and of course recommended. But there's your terminal voltage control, where you can control the end voltage. That's a new feature on chargers these days. You can set your temperature cutoff. So we're still in the battery memory program. So we're saving this battery memory so that you can come to this menu and you can load it and just select it and boom, bring it up, and it brings it up, and it'll have your voltage control. It'll have all those settings set for you. And of course you can change them. I believe it has a 5 to 10, let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, it has 10 battery memory, so that'll keep you good. Lots of memory. Let's see what else we got here. That's about it. I mean, in the nickel metal hydride and the nickel cadmium, you have a charge function, you have an auto charge function, and you have a discharge function. You can choose when it cuts off and how fast it discharges, how many times will it re-peak, and you also have the cycling function where it'll do a discharge charge or it'll do a charge discharge. You can change which, I mean, if your battery's full, you'll want to do the discharge charge. If your battery is dead, you'll want to do the opposite. You want to charge it first, of course, and you can choose how many cycles. I believe it goes up to 5. Yep, 1 through 5 cycles. Alright, so that is pretty much it. We went through pretty much every menu item. The only thing we didn't touch on was the lead-acid battery functions, but they're pretty much the same. They're just charge, discharge, and that's about it. And of course, port 2 has all the same functionality. So, great little charger here. I'll give you a little 360 of it. It's generally compact. It has a voltage switch on the side, so that you can, you know, if you're traveling abroad or if you live abroad and you use 220, 230, 240 volt outlets, you can flick the switch right here. This is just residue from a sticker that tells you about selecting the right voltage. There's a fan on this side to, of course, cool the charging board, which is located up front. For port number 1, here's the PC link, so you can monitor and control it via your PC. Up front we'll have the main charge, positive and negative for port 1, balance socket for port number 1, and temp socket for port number 1. And then the same for port number 2. And on this side we'll have a larger fan to cool the power supply that's located in the back of the unit. You'll have your DC port, which can be used to power the charger or can actually be used to power a device off of the charger. Here we have a very functional, which is really sweet, 5 volt 2.1 amp USB port. This is a little USB charger for your cell phone, your Apple iPad, or whatever you have that recharges using a USB cable. And again, this is the PC link for port number 2. It's got some nice rubber feet on the bottom. Very compact, very powerful, and it's really loaded with features. Great value. I hope you enjoyed.